Have you ever considered that the amount of things that you have could be holding you back from living your most joyful, productive life in your home life and in your business? Well, today we're talking with Rosie and Adam Cobb, who are the founder and creators of The Irish Mummy, both online and as a website. And Rosie has built a multinational business selling doTerra oils, but it wasn't until she went through the process of ridding her family home of all the excess stuff that she was really able to find the peace and clarity that she was looking for that helped her to revolutionize her business. This episode is filled with so many tips of how to find clarity, not only in your stuff, but in your life and in your business. And one of my favorite quotes that I love is that you can keep a thing or you can keep the space, but you cannot have both. And oftentimes it's through the clutter that surrounds us that we can find clutter in our mind. And Rosie's mission is help to find clarity for herself and her clients that she is now helping in her journey moving forward to help mothers live their most productive and joyful filled life. So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? We'll listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Call Me CEO. And I am so thrilled to have two guests today. You get to hear from such an incredible couple in Ireland, no less, Rosie Cobb and Adam, that run the podcast, The Irish Mummy podcast. She also helps women to tap into finding more joy, their vision, minimalism, a little bit of essential oils, journaling. I mean, you want it, she's got it. Thank you so much for being here today, Rosie and Adam.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Thanks, Camille.
You're so welcome. And it's really fun today because this is the first time I've actually interviewed a couple, but I've always believed that with any successful person, almost always there is a partner in the equation that makes the magic happen as a team. So I'm really thrilled to have you both here today.
Thank you. We're delighted to be together, aren't we, Adam?
Yes, we are. I help keep things on track.
As we've already seen today, I love it. So I want to start from the beginning with you two. Give us a brief recap of how you came together, how many kids you have, and your travels, and how you ended up starting the business that you did.
Okay, so we met in Australia in 2009 and we lived there for a few years. Then we moved back to Ireland in 2013 when I just had a newborn baby, my first baby. Since then, we have 4 lovely babies. We have a 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a
9-month-old.
9-month-old. So we've been living in Ireland, then we moved to Portugal, and now we're back in Ireland again. So we've traveled a lot, we've moved around, and we have had babies in different countries as well.
That's incredible. What a fun journey. And for your kids to be able to say that they were born in all these incredible different places. Was that part of the reason for you wanting to have your own business, was for the flexibility, or what was the purpose behind your moving so much?
I think when we first kind of got together and we knew that, we wanted to get married and have children, we always wanted flexibility. And I think because Adam is from Australia and I'm from Ireland, I love the USA. And, obviously Europe is on our doorstep as well with, lovely places to holiday and sunshine and different cultures. We kind of wanted to create a business that gave us that type of a lifestyle to be able to travel and that would complement it. But motherhood was a big thing for me. So I wanted to be able to, do whatever it was I wanted as a mother and be flexible, but then, go after anything I was passionate about or if I wanted to create something. So just having our own business made sense for us.
So Adam, where do you come into play with that? Because parenting is obviously very important to you both. What was it that played the role for you that you thought, let's start our own business. Let's do this podcast. What was it that really got you on board with that vision?
Well, Rosie had started up her business, and I suppose I deemed it was more like a hobby for a little while. And my background is finance, and I suppose it started to take off, and seeing the numbers, I'm like, hey, what's going on with this thing? And then it got to the point when we had to move back to, or Rosie moved back to Ireland pretty quickly, and I followed, unfortunately, 9 months later, just because of stuff that needed to be tied up in Australia. And I joined her, and I help her, and it's hard because we probably co-run the businesses. I make all the things happen, and the right things move at the right times.
Yeah.
And Rosie's really the heart of the business.
Mhm.
It's funny because I'm kind of like, I have a vision for what I want the business to be. And Adam is really good at like activating, like he'll get everything that needs to happen today. Adam will make sure all those things happen. But he's also good as well, obviously, because he's got the financial background, and he's very good at, the goal side of things. Like if we have a certain goal that we need to reach this month, Adam keeps everything on track to make that goal happen. So we kind of complement each other very well, would you say?
Yeah, and I think it became more important as we had more, as Rosie had more babies, we had more kids, and she wanted to work. It was like every child, she wanted to work less and less in terms of hours, less hours, more impact. So that's where I came in. It's funny because I know your podcast is Call Me CEO, but I'm the CEO of our group of businesses, and Rosie is the chief visionary officer. She's the heart, she's the soul,
And creator.
and I just create the strategy to make her vision happen.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, is so that because I love the quote, "No other success can compensate for failure in the home," and that's always been Rosie's sort of motto ever since she heard that quote. And so I create the frameworks around the vision to allow her to be the mother she wants to be, and to be able to impact mothers all around the world at the same time.
That's an incredible duo. I just released an episode yesterday about mind mapping and how each of us has our different strengths with the way we think and the quadrants of our brain. And a lot of times couples that work well together think differently and can also operate a business more effectively because they have different strengths. Now, it's funny that you're a finance guy because my husband is as well. And for 2 minutes, we thought about him leaving his job and working with me to really pursue. He still does my finance, so he is very involved. But it was hard for us to kind of figure it out where he didn't want me to be seen as his boss. If I'm being honest, it's kind of hard. So how are you able to negotiate that and figure that out as a couple? What are some key bits of advice for that?
Well, it's interesting you say this as well, because, we like to do what we value. And one of the things that I've been focusing on probably the last 2 years is simplifying and automating our business so that Adam can pursue things that he's passionate about as well. So his vision. And I think, the great thing is, Adam has really, he's been able to come out of a career that he was no longer happy in, and he was able to help me with my business. And now that he's, helped me create my vision and simplify it, and, our family life is functioning perfectly. Well, not perfectly, nothing's perfect, but, it's functioning as good as it probably could be. And I've simplified. There's now space for Adam to branch out and do what he's passionate about. So I think that that's kind of a thing as well. Is like there's giving, and there's what would be like the ebbs and flows. Like, he wasn't happy in his career anymore. So, I suppose,
I think I was burnt out. Like,
yeah,
I did a lot in a really short space of time and blew myself up, I think. And I think another cool thing is just stay in your lane. Whenever we've had conflict, it's been when we're trying to both be each other, and we were created differently, and we have different strengths and things that challenge us, and when we try to be the same person and do the things, or we try to cross over too much, that's when we get a bit of collision. So we stay in our own lane. Probably the hardest thing when you're working together is we're so future oriented. We're both futuristic. We love goals, we love vision, we love the future. So we talk a lot about it. And I think that's the only challenge is, especially with perpetual lockdowns, is our incessant need to talk about our goals and stuff.
So we've had to
We
rein it
shifted
in.
to a board meeting.
So yeah, so
Mm.
we what was happening was we would discuss things during the day. And the thing about it is with kids don't want two parents home at the same time talking about their business. They just don't want it. And our kids are happier when there's just one parent who is in charge in that moment in time.
Mhm.
So I think the thing that we've really had to do is discipline ourselves with. I know sometimes we'll fail at this, but we try and discipline ourselves not to talk about anything in front of the children, like nothing to do with the business. And that's why we came up with the board meeting. It was like, okay, I'm just going to leave a pen and paper on the counter, and every time I get the compulsion that I want to say something to Adam, um, I'll write it on the piece of paper. And then when we get to the board meeting, I'll either have, 20 things in a piece of paper, and I'll look at them and say, what do I actually want to talk to him about now that I've had time to think about it? Whereas we got into a trap where we were constantly, we didn't know how to turn off during the day because we were together. And we'd have people say, oh, it's easy for you guys to do business because you've got each other. But there's so many downsides to working as well, that it's no matter whether you work with your partner or you don't, there's still areas that are challenges, and there's pros and cons to everything.
And I think lack of structure becomes a bit of a challenge. I like structure. I don't like to be told what to do too much, but I do like structure. And I think sometimes I've just said, look, I just want to get a job just to take the excuses off the table that other people say, oh, it's okay for you because of X, or you work with your husband, or you work with your wife, or you're successful, so it's okay for you. It's like, okay, I'll just get a job and we can still work out how to make it happen, because we've gotten to the point now where it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Mm.
And simplifying more and more, and freeing up that space.
And it's funny because at the minute now, like my vision is, I just want to raise my children. I want to have more children if God blesses me with more children. And that's what I want. I want motherhood first and foremost. But I feel like the life I've created, I want that for other moms, but not at the expense of, my life with my family. So every question that I ask myself in my business now is, could another busy mom do what I'm doing? And if the answer is no, even if I can do it, I don't do it. So everything comes back to, could a busy mom do this? And it's funny because since I've started that, I've really attracted in, busy moms who are looking for what I have, and they don't have the time. They don't have, the Adam, they don't have this. So it's kind of like, I'm trying to automate and streamline my business so that I don't need Adam, so that it's achievable for other women as well. And now some people aren't going to want to go to the level I've gone to, but I suppose it's, what can I do to help busy moms just have more time with their children and have a little bit of an income for their family and still afford the little luxuries, but doing something that's, that's connection and passion for them.
And joyful as well.
And joyful. That's the word, joy. I never understood joy until I had it. And now that I have it, I'm like, I just want that for other moms who, are searching for it, and they're looking for it.
I love we said this before, but we are so in line with our purpose and vision in helping other moms to have lives that they love and that are full of joy. Take me a few steps back to starting your blog and then creating this vision that you are now achieving, and the steps that you were able to do to get to the place that you're now working smarter instead of harder. What are some elements that took place?
Okay, so I built my business before I had a blog. And so I did that completely offline. And then
business, sorry to interrupt you, but what business was that?
So so DoTerra essential oils, we were a founder for them in Europe. And that was kind of what happened when I moved home to Ireland. My mum was
terminally ill.
She was terminally ill. And that was the January 2013. And she passed away in the October. And at the time, I had been using a lot of alternative wellness things, and the oils were one of them. And DoTerra had a founders happening in Europe. And I said to Adam, you know what? It was kind of like a goal. And my mum had passed away, and I loved the essential oils. And I wanted to, educate people about alternative health as well as essential oils. So I kind of set a goal for myself to become a founder for doTerra in Europe. And, that was something that I suppose once she'd passed away, I was striving towards to keep myself busy. But, we need a goal. And I was a new young mom. And I suppose the more you learn as a mom, the more you want to share with other moms. And the Irish Mummy was kind of something that was about helping moms, but I felt like I didn't fully have the vision for it. I knew it was there and I wanted to help moms, but I felt like I need to help myself first. So as I was helping myself, I took note of different things. And it's really been probably in the last year that the Irish Mummy really came to fruition when we started the podcast. I think that
Mm.
was when I found my way, my voice. And that was all about giving back to mums to help them get to where I am now.
And the podcast was totally unbranded in terms of we don't talk about doTerra at all. We don't talk about, there might be occasional references to like using oils during labor and stuff in there, but it's not about a business pitch. It's about taking the decade and a half, give or take, of the things that Rosie's gone through to build a multinational business. And then the journal is just about to get released very soon. We had an issue with Brexit. The printer was ready to go, and then Brexit happened, and we don't live in the UK, so that sort of scuttered that. So, and then all these other things came off the back of it.
And it was kind of like more like contribution. Like, I suppose you get your point in your life where you want to contribute. And it was always like, how can I contribute where it can still complement motherhood? Because, you can see where it's not sustainable to run a business as a mom if it doesn't complement motherhood. And, that thing had really stuck out to me. No success is worth failure in your home. I heard that when I was an employee, and the moment I heard it, it resonated so much with me that it always stuck with me. And I think the motto for the Irish Mummy was kind of that when we created the podcast. It's, no success is worth failure in the home. So I wanted mums who maybe want to strive towards like creating their dreams, or finding joy, to do it, but with thinking of motherhood in mind. Like, what can I create that will still complement motherhood?
I love all of that. Have you been thinking about trying to discover your why and maybe defining your purpose a little more clearly? Well, I created a free 5-day email sequence that helps you do just that. It helps you dive into who you are, what your special talents are, and even pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone with asking questions of people that are close to you. So go to callmeceopodcast.com to access that. And I have a little sneak peek of something up and coming about how to become a virtual assistant. So if that is something that you would think you might want to do in the future, stay tuned, get subscribed to the newsletter so you can hear about all the details, because we will have special discounts for those who are subscribed to our email list. You can go there and find more information at callmeceopodcast.com or camillewalker.co. So you're saying this mantra that you took with you, and it's really transformed your life. Now you are attracting all of these mothers and women who are looking for that same joy, that same purpose. And I know a big part of your brand and what you share is minimalism and really creating space for the things that matter most. Can you tell me more about how that journey happened? And especially, you speak a lot about your mother. You must have been very close with her, and then recovering from that loss. And that I know that authenticity really attracts others to you, and that they can see that you mean what you say and that you really care. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So it's funny because like I feel like a lot of my business is here because my mom did pass away, which can be difficult because it's, so much good has come from her passing. And I think that's a big thing I want to pass on to people. Like, we can have really sad things happen, but great things can come for it. So that's one thing. But I think as somebody who's built a business as a busy mom, when life is complicated, it's very hard to be mentored by somebody, and it's very hard to do the things that will grow your business. So I think the one thing that I want to help moms with is to really simplify their life to the point that if they want to heal, if they want to grow as a person, or if they want to, build an income stream or do something that they're passionate, they can't really do that until they've simplified their life. So I suppose I feel like if I can help moms simplify, I can give them choices in their life and give them more time to I suppose, follow their true mission and purpose in life, whatever that is. And, for some women, it's with me. And with some women, I just free them up and they find their own, mission and purpose with somebody else. So I think it's kind of twofold. But the interesting thing with minimalism is it kind of happened to us. And how it happened was, we left Australia. I left overnight to come home to be with my mom with a newborn baby. And I left everything behind, just basics came with me. Then as we were growing our business, and then my mum passed away, we we were, I suppose, living in my mum and dad's house. My dad, he moved away, and he didn't want to be here anymore. Obviously, my mum wasn't here. And I was running a business. I was a young mom, and there was just so much stuff. There was 40 years worth of stuff in this house. And it's taken me nearly 7 years to clear out this house layers by layers at a time.
Mm.
And by the time, and because we were running a business and we were, investing all of our money into our business, we kind of stopped becoming consumers. We didn't buy anything because everything went to our business. And I think it was kind of the process of slowly trying to get through 40 years of stuff bit by bit. And we invested so much money to clear out the house as well, bit by bit, that it was, in a way, it was kind of traumatizing, because it robbed my children. Like, it robbed them of time with me. It robbed me of joy. But the lessons I learned from clearing out this house layer by layer have been so great that I know the future will be amazing, for my children. But I came up with ways, how can I simplify what I own? So clothing, I went from, you have your wardrobe of clothes and you'll get rid of stuff that you don't want anymore. But like now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, what are the minimum amount of clothes that we need to function? And, I just need to keep the best. And even if there's clothes I love, if they're excess, they have to go, even if I love them. So like, we simplified our clothes. We simplified, any furniture in the house. We took away all wardrobes and storage that would get cluttered.
So we have one big walk-in
walk-in
wardrobe as a family.
and everyone has a little unit in it. And I can see what all our clothes are. We simplified our pantry, our laundry. And I suppose that
I think it really sort of reaffirmed when we went for, what was a 7 or 8 week holiday to the US in early 2019, I think. And then decided to move to Portugal in the summer 2019, so around June. But I found a place when we were in the US. We were in Florida or something at the time, Disney World. And I got one of our friends in Portugal to go and check it out for us. And so we signed the lease whilst we were in the US and moved straight from the US to Portugal with 5 suitcases.
And because
as a family, we had 3 kids, and I don't think you weren't pregnant.
Because we traveled in the US, we had a suitcase for winter kind of wear, and we had one for summer wear because we were going to be in Florida, and then we were going to be up in New York. And
this around February.
We
March.
had exactly the right kind of quantity of clothes to bring with us to Portugal to last us if we moved. And that was a big eye opener as well. Like this, if I tried to move to Portugal with notice, I would have thought I needed to bring all this stuff. But that we literally moved like we're on holidays. And that was a key thing for me to see what we could survive with. But I suppose the thing about clearing out this house is that there was a lot of sentimental stuff here. There was stuff that didn't belong to me. And I had to make a lot of decisions all the time. And I got good at making decisions. And I got help from a friend for the final clear out of the things in the house. But she asked me 2 questions and I added another one. So one is, if you take a photograph for it, is it enough? Could you let it go if you have a photograph of it? The second one is it replaceable? Like, could you buy it again if you needed it? And the third one that, I've kind of added in is, could this bring joy to somebody else? If it's excess for me, and even though I love it, could I give it to somebody else and it would bring them joy? So that was kind of the thing where, especially for things that were like someone maybe gifted for you or something somebody made for you. So we kind of got with that mentality. I cleared out all of the attic. I cleared out every cupboard in the house. And we put like everything into our shed. And then from there, I just culled and culled. And it was interesting because we were going to renovate this house. But when we cleared out everything out of it, the house took on a different function. Before this, it didn't function for a young family. It just didn't function. But when I got everything out of the house, it functioned where we could have joy. And that was my outcome. Originally, I wanted to renovate so we could have joy and function. But when we got rid of everything in the house, because we personally don't own that much between ourselves, I was like, wow, the house now functions. And I think that's a big thing why I want to help moms with minimalism in their homes is that it could be the belongings in their house that's robbing the joy because they don't have the time. So I suppose what I really want to do with the Irish Mummy on Instagram now is teach maybe week by week a little tip about how to reduce something in their house to simplify, and then get mums with more time, more joy with their kids, that they can get up earlier in the morning because they have energy. They can stay up later at night because they have energy. And that they can do something simple. So if it was with me, they might build a business with me because I know how to do it simply, or they might go do it with somebody else, or maybe they might, find a new passion that they'll go after. But I don't believe we can really do it until we've simplified.
And I think that we got to a point where we'd achieved a decent level of success in our business. And we said to the kids, well, we have a choice as a family. We can collect things or we can create experiences. What do you want? And so that's where we did a road trip from Orlando to Canada.
Wow.
And people looked at the way we went and was like, do you not know how to follow a map? Because we went via Atlanta and Nashville, and then we visited friends in Charlotte.
And we did 6 weeks in Australia as
so
well.
we've been all over the place. And then we went straight to Portugal for 18, 19 months and had a baby there. And we had a fiasco with the birth certificate. Our little baby, his name's Ezra, but
his birth cert for 2 years, we'll say Urza.
It was misspelled. And but anyway.
But our time in Portugal was worth his name being misspelled.
It was amazing. But I think everyone gets to that point. And it really hit home for me because one of the reasons why there was that 9-month gap between me joining Rosie and Patty in Ireland was because of the amount of stuff we had. The mortgages on the house and the investment property, the 2 car loans, the bills, all the stuff that you collect. And I realized that true freedom for me, like literally, we can lock this house up. It's got a great alarm. We have she's not a cleaner. She's more like a house manager. She will come and take care of the house while we're gone. We can turn the light off, put the alarm on, and give her the keys and leave for however long we want, and everything will be okay. And I think that's the freedom that comes when you're not anchored down by things. And we love quality stuff. It's not that we're anti things. It's just that.
But we're willing to save for quality.
But they need to have utility. Like just buying things for the sake of buying things.
And I think that's the thing. And you actually mentioned it on when we had spoken earlier. Let the demand create the need. So if I've gotten everything out of the house, I won't bring something into the house until there's demand for it. It's not like, I think I'd like this, so I'll get it. It's like there has to be demand and then it comes back in. So when we had put everything out into the shed, my mum had loads of china, loads of it. So I went up and I had divvied it up for my siblings. And then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, Sunday dinner is a big thing for us. So there was one set and I thought, okay, I'll bring that set in because we'll use that every single Sunday.
And then the silverware and everything.
And the silverware. But then I was like, you know what? I love thin china cups because it keeps a drink warm for longer. And there was a cute little set and I'm like, okay, that can come back in. But it felt so good having removed everything and then consciously bringing something back in, as opposed to, trying to figure out what you're going to get rid of. So yeah, just just the whole process of um, slowly removing stuff from a house has made me very careful with what I would ever bring back into a house.
Well, it's funny because there's that scripture that says it's a house of order, not a house of chaos. And I've looked around and I've thinking back on the spaces that I've lived in or created or something like that, that they're generally a reflection of what's happening mentally. And if you're trying to create a business, having that clarity, and I can't work if there's too much stuff around. Like I literally just I get stifled. So it's having that space, it's having that clarity, and you're much more effective because you're not double handling everything, and the kids are happier. Like we've culled probably 60 something, or we as in Rosie, culled 60%. I'm too much of a chicken to deal with that. 60% of their toys, and we left only the really top quality stuff, and they don't even notice because they just play with
And
the
now
same
they're
stuff anyway.
playing, they're actually playing with more things.
So
I've noticed that too with my kids where I've thought, oh, but we spent so much money on that or that set, or I could have resold it, things like that. And one quote that I've heard that I really like is you can keep the item or you can have the space, you can't have both. And for
Wow.
me, when I tell my husband specifically that visual clutter really does translate to mental clutter for me. Like it really is hard for me to feel zen. It's like when you leave a dirty kitchen at night and you come down to it the next morning versus when you've cleaned it and it's a nice clean kitchen and it just totally sets a different tone for the day. Building a successful business takes a clear understanding of your goals and where you want to go. That is why I love Cube Money. It is an app card combo that allows me to assign a purpose to each dollar in my checking account. No more wondering where you stand in regards to your bills because with each transaction, you make a mental check-in with your balance. Create goals and stick with them in your lifestyle and business so you can live more and stress less. Go to cubemoney.com/Camille to get started today. That's Cube spelled Qube money.com today and make those dreams a reality. So for those who are listening, what would you suggest for those who might have I think there's so many different aspects of this and you're inspiring me to get rid of things as I look at my craft closet that I never am using. How would you suggest that people start? First of all, that's my question. And then my next is, I think so often consumerism is a form of therapy for people. So how do you combat that as well?
Okay, so where to start? So I started room by room
Mhm.
and I got help. So I found it was easier if you're not a very organized person, like it doesn't come naturally to you. And
or if you're super sentimental.
yeah, but so organizing comes naturally to me, but making decisions around personal things I found, difficult, especially when they belong to like my mom. That was like really difficult. So what I did was I used to get somebody to come in once a month. We would pick a room, and it depends on someone's finances as well. Like you might have a friend that can come in, or you might need to pay someone to come in. So that will come down to finances. But what we did was once a month we would tackle a room, and I would let her, we would take everything out, we'd go kind of through it. And then what she would do, which was really useful, was she would gather all the sentimental stuff up in a room that she knows that I would definitely keep, and she would put it into a box. And we wouldn't go near that box. That would just go up into the attic because it was sentimental. And then the other stuff, it would be like, okay, are we going to keep? Will it go to charity? And say if it was something that we needed, and but it wasn't, what I wanted long term, that would be something where, look, I'll keep this and I'll save until I can afford to buy something new, and then I'll gift it to charity.
And then the consumerism part of it is, um, I'm a strong believer that we will get prompts along the way if there's a habit that isn't serving us. And I ignored those prompts, and it's just like the music just keeps getting turned up louder and louder and louder, and then you just get given such a profound lesson. So I got given, um, I'd earned a lot of money through my 20s, but hadn't saved anything and bought a bunch of stuff. And then Rosie and Patty had to leave overnight to go back to Ireland to be with her mom. And I couldn't be there because of the things around me. And I started thinking back, like I started looking at things and like, if I needed to be with someone that I loved and they needed me wherever they would be in the world, could I be there? And ours is an interesting situation because our families are from two different continents. Um, And it's looking at the fact, well, are you working for the things in your life? And it's looking at the healing, like, why are you buying things? Like, I was buying things because my self-esteem was terrible. And I was working some weeks 80 hours a week in finance, and um, I was buying things to try to buy happiness. Like, well, if I have that because I'm stressed, then that will make me happy. Um, and it's just that I've heard of they're called hungry ghosts. Like, you can never satiate them.
Hmm.
Like, if you like whether it's someone with a handbag collection or a shoe collection, or me, it was guitars, or if it's watch, whatever, clothes. Like, they're just, it's a if you'll notice if you've got if that desire cannot be satiated, and you always have to have the next thing, then there's probably a pattern or something that you need to have a look at.
And the other thing as well is I don't put myself in positions where I need to buy stuff. So, like
It's easy during lockdown. You can't go
yeah,
anywhere.
so it
All
is,
the shops are shut. Move to Ireland. You'll save a ton.
but it's interesting because I don't like shopping online because I find it complicated having to scroll. And with young kids, I was running the business. So I actually found running the business at nighttime, or being so tired during the day that I would go to bed early. I wasn't online, I wouldn't use my phone during the day with the kids. And then I wasn't online at nighttime to be like shopping. But I wouldn't just go to a shopping center to shop unless I had a need for something. And if I was going to go there, I would only buy the thing I needed. So I think that's another thing is if you're somebody who's maybe going to shops a lot, try to stop doing that. And the other thing is maybe if you are somebody who you do like to shop, one thing that we do is we save for something. So we'll have little accounts for things like
We get an allowance that neither of us have a say on how the other spends it.
so say for example my allowance, I can save my allowance, and if I want to buy 10 tops for $10 or €10, I can, or I can wait and save up and buy one good one for 100. But I think the good thing about having the little allowance is, I have friends who maybe they don't have money and they're like scraping by day to day. But if they go to a food shop and they see a nice jacket for €10 or €20 on sale, they'll buy it because they're like, oh, it's lovely and I don't have money, so I'll get this now. But they might have 4 or 5 jackets. Whereas I'll wait and I'll see my money build up, and then I'll be like, is that worth taking some of my allowance for? Because that's my money. And that really helped me as well, because even now with my wardrobe, I've nearly culled it back to like just over 30 items of clothing. And, they're all good quality. They all kind of are similar. It's like I can mix and match them. But I think I'm going to go to another extreme and be like, you know what, I'm going to have a set amount of items in my wardrobe. And if I want to buy something new, I have to let go of something else. So I have to really decide, is that something I want to bring in? Because I'm going to have to let go of something that I have for it.
Yeah, I think that's a fun mindset because I've noticed I get the same thrill of getting rid of stuff as I do getting new stuff. And I think that that's really interesting of tapping into your mindset and what is your focus and turning it more into like a goal, a gameplay of reaching those goals. And for those listening who want to apply this to business and success, which I know that that is a big part of what you offer as well, how would you translate what you've learned through minimalism towards building a business?
d- Everything has to be simple. Like as soon as we complicate something, and especially in my business, it's all about, developing leadership in other people, or, you know, um, I suppose giving people tools to use that will simplify their life. So, if I'm training someone, it has to be simple and it has to be something that someone else can do. So again, if I'm doing something and I find it difficult or unuseful or overwhelming, it's never going to help another person. So,
Mm,
if I'm doing anything and I'm trying to duplicate it in my business, if I'm secretly stressed and overwhelmed, I would
mhm.
never ask someone else to do the thing I'm doing. And I think for a long time, even though we grew our business, I always held back in my business because I think there was a part of me that thought, what I'm doing, I can do it, but it's not duplicatable really to like the masses. So I think, a big thing for me when we went to Portugal, it was like I never worked during the day. I stopped checking my phone completely. Uh,
Rosie leaves her phone in another room during the day.
and I only work at nighttime. So I was like, okay, if I'm only going to work at nighttime and we still want to have date night and a board
Mhm.
meeting, and I need to have time where I can be mentored or educate myself. The time that I can work, what am I going to do during that time that will be effective to grow the business? And when I figured it out, I'm like, okay, so my work, my life is smooth right now, and our business is growing, our podcast is growing, everything is growing. So I can teach this to other people because my life, I'm happy and I'm not stressed and I'm not overwhelmed. So surely other people would want that too. And I think that was the moment when we came back to Ireland. I just thought, okay, I'm ready for my busy mums now.
I think the other thing, I know there's a book or something about it, is just to focus on the one thing. Like, we built a business solidly because a lot of people dabble in a lot of different bits and pieces. You know what I mean? So we focused 100% on that one business until 2019, and then launched the podcast. So we had a big business, and then started the podcast. And then
Yeah.
Rosie's just about to launch the journal based on the 10 years of journals that she's used. And then there'll be the course coming out to explain how to journal effectively for those that want a little bit more of a guided experience on how to journal and affirmations and stuff like that. Wholly and solely focused on busy moms, but applicable to everyone. So I think that's the thing, is like, focus on the one thing that you do well. And
That gives you the
because
foundation.
distraction is the number one killer of business. And a lot of small business people are like, oh, I've got to have my multiple streams of income. It's like, well, that's great, but you'll have multiple streams of stress, and none of them will ever get big enough where there's enough stability, and then you'll be putting out too many fires. So that would be one piece of advice, is that we focused on the one thing, and then that gave the credibility and opened the doors for the other things.
Yeah. And the other things were, complete passion. Like they were something that I have to bring to the world. That's the feeling that I have about them.
And they're not done for money.
And they energize me. And I think that was the other thing, because me and Adam were talking about is, how can we contribute more to charity? And I think the things that I do above my doTerra business, to me, they're like the excess. They're things that I can really contribute towards the greater good with, because I don't need the finances from them. And that was a big thing as well, is I feel like I was waiting for the charity that I'm really passionate about. And one of them is Operation Underground Railroad. And, that's, for people who don't know, that's about helping children that are caught up in
child sex trafficking and stuff like that.
And it's funny because even just mentioning it, it's, but I couldn't help that organization until I was solid. And now that I'm solid, I feel like that's one that I really want to start focusing on, and then wait and see what other things come in that I can start focus on after that.
I would like to ask you, because keeping it simple, I'm building a course right now. I'm curious which platform you're using for doing that, because I'm a bit overwhelmed with how many options there are. What did you decide?
So we are actually rebuilding our website, and we have gone with Wavoto.
It's all-in-one.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's an all-in-one package. It's some friends of ours are helping with it. It's a funnel builder. It's a shopping cart. It's a CRM. It's a mailer. And course builder, everything all in one.
And the reason why we chose that one and why we're trying to move over to it is because I want to use it. And if I can use it as a busy mom, then I know that for any of my, busy moms who then want to build something online as well, that they would be able to transition into that, and I would be able to help them with that at a later stage as well.
We have a ton of friends that use Kajabi as their main one. For it, but we just found this solution that's all in one. We had so many different things happening. We had ClickFunnels, we had we had everything happening, and it was just like we were spending probably €700 a month on all these different bits, and now we've got a whole solution for way less than that.
And it's Wavoto.
Wavoto, WAVOTO.com.
Okay, I'll have to link to that and then check that out, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, they're really, it's really cool. It's a cool, and they've got funnels, and there's different pricing tiers and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the max pricing is like $197.
And the reason why I liked it as well is it was the tiered approach. It was like, for me, if I could mentor someone else, I could mentor them tier by tier, so they could just whatever their finances were, they could do maybe just tier 1, get a handle on it, and then know what's ahead of them, but not feel that they need to do everything all at once. Because I think when you're building your own business, you realize you can only do a little bit at a time. So the less overwhelmed, the better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating, and I could talk to you two all day. Thank you so much for sharing all of these wonderful tips about how to build such a wonderful life and business and partnership. I think we covered so many wonderful things. Please tell our audience where they can find more about you and your new program.
Okay, so we are the Irish Mummy, MUMMY podcast. So that's where we're every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm also on Instagram, so the Irish Mummy as well. And that one I'm going to be doing a lot more things on it, tips and tricks and, how to simplify and journaling. And my Journal to Joy is going to be out very soon. So as soon as it's launched, you'll either find out about it on the Irish Mummy Instagram or on my website, theirishmummy.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you again. And I look forward to speaking to you guys again. I know for sure we will.
Thanks,
100%.
Camille.
You're amazing.
We enjoyed every moment of tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today. If you found purpose and inspiration, please let us know at Call Me CEO Podcast on Instagram, or come join our community on Facebook, Call Me CEO Community. There is so much strength that we can learn from one another, and especially with finding peace and zen with what it is that we create in our environment and in our lives, and that will translate to ourselves and also to our kids. So today I want to challenge you to think about something that you could minimize to create more mental freedom for you. What is it? Once you find and discover what that thing is, please come and tell me on Instagram. I love having conversations with you there, and a resource where we can help each other as we build the lives that we love.